What is up, everybody? We are back. Tell the Truth, episode 21, 2024 Combine Week as the offseason has gotten underway for your back-to-back Super Bowl defending champion Kansas City Chiefs hitting the ground. We got some news to get to kind of organizationally, Arrowhead renovations, a little bit NFLPA report card, got Legarius Sneed tag. We got podcast news because Miko Harbin was on the pivot, and you knew Miko Harbin was going to say something wild. Um, I'm excited to get into this. So, DG, CJ, man, how y'all feeling, dog? What's up with it?
Yeah, man. Lots of
What up,
news dropping
champs?
today. Yeah, what up, champions?
What up, champs?
Lots of news dropping today, man. Already still trying to come off the high of winning the Super Bowl and getting prepared for what I think now is probably gonna be a really thrilling offseason for us, especially. Lots of news, but yeah, man, I'm happy with kind of how the team is moving and the decisions they're deciding to make. So we'll see what's in the future for us, man. Yeah.
So far, so good, man. Everything that's kind of happened and transpired the last 24 hours, kind of everything we've talked about the last year. So, MVS deals, cap caps, we knew that was going to happen. The tag and trade, I said whichever way we decided to move, just give me clarity before the draft. I love to get the news out now and just get ahead of it. Like, hey, we're going to move this player. Let him explore the market now so we can decide how we should move forward, get it all done. And obviously, this is perfect timing because this is the week where obviously agents and GMs meet in Indianapolis and they talk about contracts and extensions. So, if we can get those answers now, we can have a much more calmer and relaxing draft, at least for our end, knowing as fans that we know what we can do. So
Certainly hope to have a more calming and relaxing draft where we kind of know what's going to happen. That won't happen, but it would be nice to have that exist. Yeah, we'll get a little bit into the remodeling stuff a little bit later on. That's been rumors, obviously, Legarius Sneed to a few different teams tying them together. So we'll also be getting into that later on. So speaking of, figure we start out, with the most non-team building aspect of this. So there are Arrowhead renovations that were announced today in a press conference with Clark Hunt and Mark Donovan. This was at the combine that they did announce this. They showed renderings of what they wanted to do as far as the surrounding areas for Arrowhead and the aspects of, kind of being able to have a foot traffic bridge, a concert venue area, a little bit of tailgating within the stadium, expanded concourses, new stadium clubs, both underneath the sideline and also in the end zones as well. And then adding on top of it a new video board on both sides, and then also a 360 addition to that aspect as well. So we'll end up seeing what ends up happening from that perspective. From the stadium renovation aspect, or just overall, as far as what Arrowhead is kind of in the middle of undergoing in the surrounding areas, for that matter, as we come up on the Jackson County vote coming up very soon here in April. I mean, do you guys have any thoughts as far as that's concerned, and the renderings that were shown today?
Man, the video I loved it. I love what they were talking about doing. Especially I think the upper deck where you can walk around the stadium for once.
fully around, not down,
You know,
over, and up and over, all that.
I know a lot of people were upset about restaurants and more development around the stadium, which I think as the stadium kind of grows, that may come later. But I think at this point in time, right now, we all know, man, the Chiefs are traditional, man. They're gonna stick to certain traditions and what they believe in, especially Clark. Keeping the same tradition, keeping the same land. I think he really made a promise to his parents that they would keep Arrowhead where how it is and wouldn't mess up too much of what's going on. So um, I know a lot of people were really upset that there were no, I guess, entertainment kind of around it still at that point in time, but I still think the plan they put out was a good plan of giving the fans a good experience at the games and stuff like that. The luxury suites, and I think they're trying to cater to maybe a higher clientele because they know that the emphasis of where this team is going. You're probably going to get a lot more celebrities at the games now, and stuff of that nature. So you kind of have the kind of things to accommodate those people, and so brings more money into the stadium, brings more attention to the Chiefs. So it is what it is, man. If that's the route they want to go, I'm for it.
More parking, more people, bigger tailgates. I don't know what more you can ask for. You don't need restaurants when you have the best cooks in the city.
Yeah,
Everybody
man.
come outside. You got everybody cooking. Now you can literally walk across 70 and go
Yeah.
all the way down Arrowhead. That's fire. So you can park literally across. Instead of going to the gas station, you can literally park all the way across and they'll make a parking lot. So that's fire. I like that. And
I
basically,
like that too.
where Kaufman is, all of that's going to be like a big old field for like concerts. They'll probably have fan experiences out there for kids, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff for like families and everything like that. Obviously, there's going to be tons of more parking on both sides. These are the little suites. I love this design. Obviously, when you have higher clientele, like DG said, people want to pay more money to go to the games because more winning means more revenue. So I like that idea for people, especially if you have like higher dollar amount. And then I was just this overall view. This is like triple the amount of parking that you have now. So I love this idea. So as far as like you still should get to the game early like you normally do, but just having this much flexibility as far as parking. Anybody who goes to Chiefs games regularly knows parking's usually, if you want to get a good spot, you have to be there 4 or 5 hours early. That's why people get there so early, because they want a specific spot. With this much flexibility now, with this much more space, you can probably be a little more leeway as far as like, or lenient on when you want to leave as far as parking and stuff. So I love it. More space, more fans, more easy accessible when you want to move within the stadium. I love that part, because the going up and down and across when you're on the top level is kind of weird. So anything to make it more of a better experience for fans and make it more easier to be accessible, I love it. So I don't really trip on the food and the restaurant part. Every time you in Arrowhead parking lot, everybody's cooking anyway. So if you want food, just go to your neighbor and say hi, and they'll probably give you some food. So I love it, man. It's anything to expand the stadium, give more people. And for all y'all who care about stadium so much, having a nice stadium is amazing, but you'd rather be winning than having the best stadium, because there are teams that have an amazing stadium who don't win nothing. So I'd rather have a mid-ranked tier stadium, but I'm winning all the championships. Cowboys. excuse me. Sorry.
I would argue where we just won the Super Bowl would qualify for that as well.
So, like LA, the Rams, obviously they did win a bowl, but a very nice stadium. But Chargers don't win nothing. So there's plenty of teams who have very nice arenas or very nice stadiums, but don't necessarily match with the team productivity. So be mindful of what's most important. But at the end of the day, the stadium looks cool. I like it. I'm all for it. I love the Royals design. I love the Arrowhead design. I'm all for it, man. They both look dope.
Jared's world is beautiful. I certainly will say that. Shout out to Mizzou, won the Cotton Bowl there. I'm interested from the standpoint of there's been a lot of complaining as they kind of had these renderings come out, and they also had the NFLPA report card come out at the same time, which we'll talk about here in a second. It's just I think that a lot of people aren't being realistic from a lot of standpoints. To Kyle's point, you're in the Midwest. You're not necessarily going to have a colossal estate. If they ever got rid of Arrowhead, people would riot, in my opinion. I don't think that it would be popular amongst the fan base to do so. If today they had announced that they were going to have two separate plans, one that would be tearing down Arrowhead, or the other would be building a dome on top of Arrowhead, I don't think that vote in Jackson County in April would pass. I don't think it would. I think people would go out and vote no. And
it already didn't. Once.
And if it doesn't pass, I don't think that they're going to be in Jackson County as well, which means that everybody's going to be upset that Arrowhead's going to be gone. So there's a lot of different considerations from that standpoint that are not necessarily being realistic from fans' perspective. I think that the upgrades are fine, and we'll talk a little bit more about where it fits in as far as Clark Hunt's money is concerned. That we'll certainly do some pocket watching from that aspect. So that's my general thoughts on the renderings. It's cool. It is what it is. If you're able to make the pregame experience a little bit more, and I certainly think that field area seems like a pretty cool concert venue as well. So I'll be interested to see where they go as far as that is concerned. So moving on, specifically the NFLPA report card that was shown earlier today. There was not a lot of high grades for the Chiefs, to say the least. All right, go ahead. I mean, look, the reality of the situation. You have outdated facilities. They did not score very highly. they had an A+ as far as the coach is concerned. Which
What about winning? What was that grade?
winning is also an A+. That is winning is also an A+.
I would
I would
hope so.
also say the most important thing on here, to me, is the head coach, because that's the guy you have to play for.
Yeah.
And they like him a lot, which is understandable because he's a player's guy. And he's not a player's guy to where players walk all over him and you don't win shit. He's a player's guy to where you win championships because they want to run through a brick wall for him. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, facility or families, food cafeteria, which is, C minus. And it's very interesting, like that the Jets and Giants like had some B+ or B- that landed them like 18th in the league. So the grading scale on this is not very good. But all things considered, none of these necessarily look like good grades in any way, shape, or form. They also had some anecdotes as far as the locker room stools and things of that nature being the number one issue. A little bit of issues as well as far as the actual training room staff, which I do feel like those are things that can get fixed even within one off season. So I would not be surprised if the locker room is upgraded. I would not be surprised if the training staff is a little bit more funded going into next year. And for the record, I think it's kind of crazy that they said that. I think the response was that Clark Hunt said that they planned on doing the renovations for the locker room, but the season lasted too long. You're a successful franchise. You're going to play into January. I don't know why your locker
Every
room
year. So
plan, revolves around being able to get in there in January. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's a different conversation for a different day. As far as that's concerned, we'll see if they are able to fix those things, which I do think they certainly can. So, you guys have any thoughts as far as the NFLPA report card was concerned?
I,
Yeah, go ahead, see. My bad.
I saw a leak of this in the season. So everything that's on here is pretty much on brand. I know, like, have y'all done a tour of the stadium since the locker renovation? The visitor locker room is not like good. So I could understand why that one's very poor. Treatment of family, that's kind of, I guess that's subjective because I've seen people that have come from out of town and like people that are higher up because I know people that work in the stadium that work with the families. They've told me that people have said nothing but great things about coming to Arrowhead from that perspective, like the way you're accessible, the way they treat you as far as they get into the suites and everything. So I don't think that should be as low as a grade as it is. Ownership, how does he get an F? What's like the metrics for that? Like how is the owner so bad? So I agree with D-Mac. I don't think that's as great as or the grading scale is accurate, but most of these we kind of expected most of these. But yeah, the ownership one, I don't think you could really sit and say Mr. Hunt's a F grade owner. I don't think that's legit. But outside of that, the locker room one I would agree with. The visitor one is not good. It's definitely nothing that's not top tier. But everything else on the list is pretty much the nutritional staff. After what they did to Pat's ankle last year, we may have to regrade them. I don't know. I thought Pat was that ankle and didn't look good. He was able to play. So, yeah, so we may have to re-upgrade some things, but no free daycare is crazy.
Yeah,
Kyle, you funny.
Jordan Love bought those tickets.
That's Jordan Love's fault. That ain't
That's
our
Jordan
fault.
Love's fault.
His
Yo,
mama
they
said
sent that
she
man
bought them
family up
tickets.
to the sky.
Yeah, man. He
Oh,
did
She
not.
was, she was talking to Jesus. What's up? How
Right.
you doing?
No, I mean, what you gonna do? Like,
We can't have it all, DG. We can't have it all.
do it. Like,
we can't win, do this, and have the best stadium.
Listen, sometimes I know my place, and there's a time and place to know your place and stay out of things. One thing I do for sure, I stay out of billionaires' money. Because, like, look, I don't got billions of dollars, and I wish I did, it'd be nice. But at the same time, like, I know how tough decisions can be when you got a whole organization pretty much rely on you to make these decisions and do things of that nature. So I mean, I can understand why the players would be upset about Clark maybe promising them, renovations to the locker room and stuff like that. But like, guys, like, we've been winning Super Bowls, we've been doing like having parades and like
can't do everything, man.
Yeah, bro. Like, I can't do everything at one time. Like, everything's not gonna get finished. And like renovations, we realize like those can take some years. You can take years on that. Construction doesn't happen overnight, So Yeah, I get the players' frustration or whatever because it would be I want them to have whatever they need to be comfortable to get ready for games and be prepared. But at the same time, like it just takes time, guys. Like or whatever. And I hope they would understand that. But yeah, if that's their grade, that's their grade. I mean, as long as we keep winning Super Bowls and keep the
Facts.
playoffs,
Y'all can
I
have
don't
them
give a damn.
grades.
I don't
Go
give a
holler
damn
at the
what y'all
Chargers
got.
and the Cowboys. They have all
All
the
right.
grades in the world and no ring. You can have
Yeah.
them grades. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I,
mean,
it is what it is. The nutritionist thing is like, what's the nutritionist in diet? Like,
Your
are they
food
not
ain't
doing their
trash.
job or
I've
something?
seen the
Like,
food in that cab. Don't lie to me. That food is good. Don't ever say that food
but
sucks.
bro, that was like league wide. People was saying food in cafeteria was. I'm like, damn, is it bad? Like,
but
That's
like
cap,
here's
bro.
the
That's
thing.
just
I mean,
cap.
you got to think it's not easy, and it is actually funny when you because in our heads we look at it and say it's a normal job, and in some respects it can be treated as such. But like the Bengals, I think, scored an F as far as I don't want to put this on the Bengals. If it's not the Bengals, I should look at who it is. But I'm also going to put it on the Bengals anyway. They scored an F as far as the nutritionist was, and it was because they weren't offering 3 meals a day on a consistent basis, and then they adjusted from last year and made it 3 meals a day just on Wednesdays, and that was their adjustment in response to their great last year. So it is what it is. It's minor things. It's as far as that's concerned, and I mean it's I think that there is a larger conversation to be had as far as Clark Hunt's role and his finances in the dynasty being maintained in many respects. And I think that goes into the cash budget, which, not a lot of people talk about. And actually, I may get into that a little bit later in the pod because we got a nice graph as far as that's concerned from OTC. But it's it's very interesting to see this come out in the same day that they announce um, the the new renderings, and it's just convenient timing. Just convenient timing all the way around from that perspective. But I also will say this is important to keep in mind, and I always say this. This is something that Mitchell Schwartz tweeted out. Free agents choose money in the NFL based off money, and then winning. And as far as the Chiefs are concerned, there are some aspects in which they will dial back and not necessarily spend to outbid for other players. It is what it is. Ultimately speaking, the facilities don't matter. These guys want to get paid first and foremost, and that's what's always going to drive their free agent decisions. And everybody wants to be successful too, and everybody wants to be used effectively. I will also say so. That's also why you see some things like Miko said. He wanted people to come save him from the Jets because he was in a losing organization after being used to winning for so long, and he wanted to get back to that winning way, to say the least. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation as far as that's concerned. So, moving to a little bit more on the field. We got the news earlier today that it sounded like, not officially, but it sounds like this L'Jarius Sneed tag is imminent, and that'll be at $19.8 million for his cornerback market. And this is something that we talked about kind of last week, even though it involved kind of my scenario as far as choose your own offseason of keeping L'Jarius Sneed. And the initial stage of that was tagging him while you try to continue to negotiate with Chris Jones, which it appears is currently going on. And we got the tweet that they will be officially meeting their reps kind of for the first time today at the NFL Combine, both L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones, to try and continue those negotiations. But L'Jarius Sneed's tag number being what it is makes him more a viable option for that tag to be placed on him and gives them more of a runway to keep him in house or allow him to seek a trade, which I think is also partially for him to set what his market is and see if the Chiefs are willing to negotiate off of that and possibly match it. So, from you guys' perspective, as far as L'Jarius Sneed and the tag is concerned, anything that you guys have as far as concerns are as far as thoughts are concerned?
no, I thought we all kind of saw this coming. I mean, um, I think at this point, kind of like I said earlier this morning, I think that L'Jarius, the tag is coming down just because I think at this point he's probably asking for more money than they thought he was gonna probably ask for, which he's deserving of. But at the same time, like I said, this comes down to business and making decisions. And I think the Chiefs kind of have a priority list of what they want to do at this point. And they might be loyal to another guy at this point in time that's kind of been the centerpiece of their defense. You know,
baby.
I think that's the reason why the tag is coming down. I don't blame L'Jarius at all if he's not able to work out a deal and he wants to seek a trade or whatever. Go get your bag. I'm all for it. I'm all for guys getting paid what they feel like they deserve. So it just seems like he might have to seek that somewhere else.
Yeah, it is what it is. We knew it was going to be one of one. Like I said, I don't care which guy we decide to move on. I was always on the side of Team Chris just because D tackle is just more valuable than great corners. As great as Sneed was, and I think he was the best corner in football this year, a dominant defensive lineman who can create pressure and create double team, triple teams, and you have to dictate the way you protect and run your offense through as far as protecting and blocking him. That guy will always hold more value. Even if Chris Jones is 30, he's not playing like a normal 30-year-old. He's an all-pro. Should have been DPOY last year, but that's a different conversation. I think everything that's happening right now, like DG says, will be expected. So nothing out of the ordinary. Just give me the answers now so we can go into the draft with a clear mind and at least have what we have our picks on the board and know what we can get and have our value with us and have our ammo ready. So in case we want to trade up or trade down. So
that is one aspect that I certainly will agree with that I like about where the offseason is coming, is starting out with. I will say it's not like last year where Chris Jones had an astronomical cap hit that you knew was going to be a lot of was going to be untenable from the standpoint of limiting the moves that you can make, and it did the entirety of the offseason. Even when it came down to the summer, when you may have had the chance to be a little bit more flexible to try to get a DeAndre Hopkins, it didn't materialize because you knew what Chris Jones was holding on to as far as your cap hit was concerned. This is hey, we know you guys had elite, seasons at your positions. We know both of you guys are going to be looking for top of the market money. We are going to try and negotiate with both of you. Chris Jones, we're going to have this back and forth. If we can't get it done, we can't get it done, and you're going to be a free agent. L'Jarius Sneed, we are going to make sure that we get value for you if we can't get a long-term extension on this tag. And so I'm glad that at least they have effectively moved up the timeline so that they can maintain the flexibility that should they need to replace either one of these guys that they can or have the ability to make their other moves a little bit more flexible than they were beforehand as well. So I'm excited about it from that perspective as well. So that's my general thoughts on that reality that we got to hear about. And look, I think it falls right in line to what we have as far as our specific, choose your own offseason coming up scenario. I'll ask really quickly. I mean, before we get into it, do you guys have any extra optimism as far as Chris Jones getting done from an extension standpoint because of the news that we heard about as far as L'Jarius Sneed is concerned?
Yeah, because for me it tells me what their priority list is. I think if it was to extend L'Jarius Sneed, I think they would have went ahead and done that. But it kind of tells me that hey, we've decided we're gonna be more loyal to Chris at this point right now, and try to get a deal done with him. I don't think they want to go through the whole debacle of the offseason like they did last year, as far as the tagging part of it. And then I don't think they really want to let him hit the open market. I think they know that he'll get his deal once he does. So, that's what it kind of tells me. Maybe it doesn't, and it could still not happen, and we could end up winning neither one of them. That's always a possibility as well too. So it's just reality at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Facts. No, everything that's happened is pretty much what we know is going to happen. So it kind of is what it is. Now, the only thing that would really change the offseason now would be like as if we had news like that Chris's deal got done. That would give us super clarity, or a player got cut that we really wanted to attack. But this is probably what the timeline of what we expected. One guy to give us his news of if he wanted to go on the trade market, and most likely would have been Sneed because his tag is cheaper, 19 compared to 32 for Chris's. So yeah, nothing out of the ordinary for me. Yeah.
Before we get into the before we get into Juju on off season, I just this tweet popped up and I'm like, yo, I really forgot this man. We should have known Leo Chanel was going to show up in every Super Bowl that he played into and just create complete havoc because he just decided to write death row on his arm every single football game. That man, that right there is a true linebacker if I've ever seen one. Shout out to Leo Chanel, man.
Death row,
Okay.
baby.
Yes, death row. Let's get into it. DG, we have your off-season plan. The scenario presented is being able to retain Chris Jones and losing L'Jarius Sneed. Come on, walk us through it, man.
Yeah,
Start
Here
out
we go.
retaining
the
guys, extending
process,
guys, structures. Yeah, let's go.
the process wasn't easy, man. Like I said before, having Brett Veach's job is very difficult, and I don't envy that man at all, especially when it comes to deciding what to do with millions of dollars. But
Millions.
like we've seen already today, they decided to move on from Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which I a week ago thought that they were going to do. My initial thoughts was maybe that they would be able to have a chance to keep him around, maybe on a cheaper deal if he was willing to restructure or something strange like that. But then looking at the numbers, there was just no way that I could see them doing that and not taking that 12 million into free agency or into tagging L'Jarius Sneed or whatever to help them. So yeah, it was tough, man. But yeah, have to move on from him. I think there's better guys on the market that you can kind of go get. They can come in and do some better things than him at this point in time. Maybe even younger at this point in time. So the next step, yeah, cutting Kadarius Toney. I'm just at a point where like I love KT, man, but I'm tired of the headache. I'm tired of him being injured this week, and we're dealing with this week. It's not him per se. Anything that he did to us is just more so everything that surrounds him at this point. And I just rather him be somebody else's problem at this time. Like I'm not sure. I've always been on the side of I don't really think Kadarius Toney loves football. I think he's good at it, but I don't think he's in love with it. I don't think it's something that he prioritizes in his life at this point, especially to get better at, So, yeah, just cut him loose. The Justin Ross thing, a lot of people might be mad at me for this too, but I'm done experimenting.
DG said
bounce. I'm tired of waiting.
Got that man up out of there.
Yeah,
Get him up out of there.
Everything that happened in the off the field, and I know that case is still, I guess, ongoing, or there's still things to figure out in that thing. I don't hold that against him or anything like that, but I just felt like that messed with his development and chemistry of how he was going about last season, and just for me, it's another headache to deal with that I don't want to deal with. At this point in time, I think that there's more proven guys that you can kind of go get and bring in here that can have a bigger impact. So best of luck to Justin Ross, but yeah, it's time to walk away. Sometimes you just gotta walk away. Extending Justin Reed. This was something that you actually put me on, DMAC, as far as them being able to move some money around and move some money further down the line and be able to have a chance to kind of be more aggressive in free agency. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like Justin Reed or, probably is not thinking that he's deserving of an extension or whatever, but I do believe he can be a centerpiece in that defense or whatever, especially if he's able to play his role, the right role or whatever. And I do think it could be something where he may take a little bit less to be here, just to stick around that winning culture. Obviously, I feel like he loves the organization. He loves, being here with Spags and Andy Reid. So I think it makes sense for them to try to get something done as far as being able to move money down the line or whatever. I think you had it at a 3-year deal, a 3-year extension.
Mm-hmm.
I can see them doing 2-3 years, trying to spread that money out and getting him paid maybe up front, but being able to have some cash to play with in this free agency. And then obviously we all been talking about the restructures, Tooney, Mahomes, and Taylor. I kind of feel like the Jawan Taylor thing might be a little tough for them to get done, just because it is after the first year of them signing him or whatever. I think Tooney and Mahomes will get done with no issues at all. I think Tooney loves being here, and obviously this is the way Pat's contract is set up for them to kind of be able to move his money around as well too. So to the big news. Tagging L'Jarius Sneed, we've already seen that is probably gonna happen, and I'm gonna trade him. Yeah. When I was looking for trade partners, the first team that popped up in my mind was Arizona Cardinals. I know a lot of people was thinking maybe the Falcons or the Lions or some NFC team that really is desperate in need of a corner. What's up,
The Commanders.
Left hand.
The Commanders. Yeah, I can still see all those teams being in play. I wouldn't mind if that happens as well too. But when I was looking at the draft boards, the Cardinals I think they have the 4th pick in the first round and the 27th pick in the first round. So they already got 2 first round picks. I think they'd be more willing to give up that second round, which is pick 35, to kind of move on, to kind of give us and be able to get a player like L'Jarius Sneed, who at this point, man, I think the Cardinals are so desperate. Like, they need everything. They need a receiver. They need offensive line. I think they need everything. They need impact players, quick in a hurry. And I think L'Jarius Sneed is a guy that probably could step in for them. Probably provide some championship leadership in that locker room. Maybe help coach up some of the younger guys that they pick up or whatever. And I think it'd be a really good investment for them. And then think we would get a nice, trade haul from them as well too, which will work out for us, and be able to have pick 32 and 35. So I think you probably get maybe a second round future 3rd or 4th, and then maybe a late pick this year as well too, if they wanted to throw that in. That's what I would ask for at this point. But I think that the most important part is getting that extra second round pick for us in this draft. So
Okay.
All right.
So we move on to the next phase.
deal.
Time to
Yes, sir.
spend some money.
yeah,
Good
time to
deal.
spend some
USA.
cash.
Give out some checks.
So hear me out on the free agency part. These are just projections, guys. Like, this is not what I think
Be careful,
could happen.
guys.
I just want to put that out there. I could see them signing some of these guys from way less or whatever. I don't know how the market works. I am not a mathematician. I'm sorry. I'm not Brett Tiller. I wish I was, but
Not
yeah.
Brett Beach.
Yeah, I don't want to figure out all those numbers. The re-signing part, though.
If DG was Brett Thomas, then he would have hired himself to be the DJ of Arrowhead. Like these.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Please, like the players need one.
Yeah, I think the first wave of business for them, obviously, is bringing their centerpiece of their defense back. A guy who's been a pillar in this dynasty run, in Chris Jones, and paying him what I feel like he deserves. 4 years, $118 million, $29.5 million a year. It's right underneath 30 of where he wanted to be, as far as pay this last offseason. The guarantees I probably might be work out differently or whatever. That's just kind of what I was projecting at that point in time. But I feel like, would be a nice payday for Chris. And at a contract, I feel like he would probably be happy with. I think for the per year price, it's a little bit of a compromise on his end, but I think it would be something that would definitely make him happy. Be obviously one of probably the second highest paid defensive tackle like he said he wanted to be at this point in time. So hopefully he's willing to stick to that, and it gets him right underneath that number at 30 million per year or whatever. You can round it up if you want to and say it's 30, or can figure it in some kind of way. I know Brave Beach is really good at that. Next part of business, signing Drew Tranquil. I think it's really adamant that they get that done as well too. 2 years, 15 million. I think you had them at 14, D-Mac.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah. So about half of 7.5 guarantee. I think Drew is very well deserving of that. And I think it'd be a contract that'll really work out for us in our favor, especially if there was some kind of injury and we needed to move on or something like that. McCall Harmon, I kind of feel like this might end up being a 2-year deal for McCall because I think he cares more about how many years he may be here. But I personally don't know if I want to invest 2 years into him. So that's why I only got it a 1 year. I think 1 year, 4.5 million. Maybe they can bump it up to 5, or I don't know. That at that point, I'm not sure how the numbers will work, but I think it'd be a point of emphasis to bring him back. Jerry McKinnon as well too. I think that'd be an easy contract to get done. And then looking at James Westchester, it's not a key piece that I feel like that they have to sign, but he's been a pillar in the dynasty run as well too. So just paying him what I feel like he deserves, and just giving him a meal to snap the ball. I don't mind fully guaranteeing it because all he does is snap the ball.
DG, are you suggesting that the guy that I immediately cut every single time that I have a Chiefs franchise mode is not that important of a piece, dog? Is that what you're saying?
You talking about the James Winchester part?
Yeah.
Right.
So I have two specific questions, and one is an issue that I have with one of the free agents. But I'll wait until you get to those free agents before I ask those questions.
We into it. So the free agency part. So when I did this through a simulator. I think Over the Cap has a mock franchise like simulator where you can kind of sign guys or whatever. Like I said, with the money on this part of whatever, where it's just projection. That's what Spot Track said. His market value is or whatever. I obviously think they could get Marquise Hollywood Brown for a lot cheaper than this
Much
or
cheaper.
whatever. So, but I do believe that this would be a decent signing for them. A guy who I feel like can come in and do a lot of good things for them, provide some speed down the field for them. I know the injury history is there, but I feel like with our training staff and our organization, bringing him in could be really beneficial for him and for us as well too. This is kind of one of those things that I feel like Brave Beach is really good at finding guys who are younger on the market. You can kind of get them in more of their prime years, and not paying guys, a lot of money that are going to be turning 30. The same with Jeffrey Okuda. I know that's probably the one that D-Mac has a little bit of issues with, but hear me out, man.
He's like, who?
So, trading L'Jarius Sneed.
Boy, oh boy.
Obviously would have to bring in somebody I feel like that could serve as a starter, but could be a depth piece at that point too. I really believe in Jalen Watson. I think Jalen Watson could start for this team next year alongside of Trent McDuffie and Josh Williams and Ozzie Johnson and guys of the nature. And I think they could hold it down. But bringing in a guy like Okuda, who was a high draft pick, still very young. He's only 25. I feel like this is a Brett Veach type of move where you bring in a guy who's maybe played for some bad organizations, has had some injury history, but is still very young. Still might have some juice left in him to come in and play, and maybe fitting into Spag's system. Maybe some things could change for him and have some success here. like I said, I already knew going into this. I knew D-Mac was going to have an issue with
Jeff
this, so
Okuda.
I'm intrigued to hear his takes on it. So
Jeff
y'all
Okuda,
can
man.
open up and discuss how y'all was.
I didn't think you would even pick Jeff Okuda. That's actually kind of funny.
No,
Oh,
so I will say this: my original plan, Christian Fulton was also out there as well too. 25, same, doesn't have the same injury history as a Jeffrey Okuda.
Yeah.
I wanted to sign him, couldn't get a deal done at that point in time, so I had to kind of move on. And as I was looking down the list, I was really just going off of some of guys' ages or whatever, and seeing, I know Brett Veach, his philosophy about age, signing guys at a younger age is something that he's had a history of doing here. So I just kind of felt like maybe that would be a move that they would probably think about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Like I said, none of this is set in stone, so don't kill me, guys.
No, D-Mac definitely okay.
All right. But I do want to hear opinions and takes or whatever, and I'm man enough to admit if I'm wrong and things don't go like this. So
no, it's all ideas, bro. No, we all just
it's all ideas. Just keep an open mind. When we get to the draft, I think y'all be happy. So.
No, yeah,
I don't mind signing up
I would be
quarter.
So is this what PFF had him valued at? Because I didn't even take a look. So that was where
Spotrac had Jeff
Okuda.
Where'd you get that Jeff Okuda number? Where'd you get it from?
It was Spotrac.
They got him getting 20 M's. What the hell?
No, they got him getting more than that.
Who do they think Jeff Okuda is?
I think they had him at they had his market value at like 6 or 7 million.
I mean, he was cool this year. He ain't getting. I don't know what he getting 20 M's. I don't know where they getting that number from.
Yeah, I obviously think they can get him for way cheaper. I just was kind of trying to put in, what the market value was at that point. I wouldn't want to offer him.
This the same as Jeff Okuda that got moved like with ease when he left Detroit.
I
mean, he's been relatively like. I know he dealt with the injury in training camp, but then he obviously had a decent production because he was still in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, he went to Atlanta this year. He did play like 50. I seen 54% of the snaps.
Yeah, I remember watching him most of the time this year.
He put in the last 2 years. He's put in almost a full seasons or whatever. Didn't start every game. Yeah, started 15 games for Detroit, and then 13. I think he started 9 games and he played in 13 games last year.
20 M's is crazy. He ain't that good. He's a good corner.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So I mean the money is insane to me. Like over the cap has it valued at like $700,000, which I mean is about what I could think of. It's because what you're thinking, and I don't think that the line of thinking is necessarily off. Like you said, he's a former first round pick. He does have talent. He's had the injury issues, etc. If you wanted to bring him in on a minimum deal, I think that would be your Brett Veach reclamation project that we've seen him do at cornerback. With other guys, and it's worked out for some of them, hasn't worked out for others. But I'd be willing to hear you out as far as that's concerned. He wasn't as bad as he was his first 2 years in the league. I'll say that. I think that Atlanta did a good job at putting him more into zone coverage situations. This year he was a little bit better as far as the reception percentage allowed. It was still over 60%, and still 15 yards a carry. I mean a catch. 15 yards a catch, which allowed, which isn't great. It's not good. He was bad in man coverage. Yeah, he was really bad in man coverage. He was awful in man coverage. He was okay in zone, which should be noticed. I mean, if you want to bring him in for a reclamation project for no money, that's perfectly fine with me. That's insane money. And I thought
that's a typo.
You were using the simulator, and
I was just using the simulator, guys. Do not kill me
don't kill DG.
Don't even look at the money. Just look at the names. The guys.
Just don't even look at it.
Don't look at the money. Forget the money. Look at the name.
They gotta fix that. They gotta fix that simulator because that's insanity as far as I'm concerned. So my secondary question is this, and as I talked about, a question mark from this perspective. So I think we all kind of generally agree that as far as the wide receivers carrying in next year, Rice and Watson are kind of solidified. We expect Sky Moore to kind of survive into training camp. We personally, at least I would, and DG would prefer to get rid of. Obviously, MVS is now gone. We're not be looking to retain Richie James, and Kadarius Toney would be on the chopping block as well, and Justin Ross would be more of a camp body kind of competition guy for me. But my question to you is, do you feel like it's necessary if you're spending significant money, which I would say for Hollywood Brown, that is significant money. And I would not necessarily love giving him a 3-year deal because of the injury history. Like it'd be two and really just 1 year of real money, but that's just me personally. And again, this is the simulation that did this. Would you feel like it's necessary to have both Mecole and Hollywood into this wide receiver room next year?
So the reason why I kind of kept Mecole around was specifically for to mainly be in the special teams role, like he has been in the past. I know they're not bringing Richie James back at that point, so I kind of felt like that would be more of what I would like to see Mecole do. Although I just still think that he can get some snaps as far as being involved in the offense. Uh, for me, Hollywood Brown was just more of getting when I did the simulation. There were certain guys that were on there like Michael Pittman or T. Higgins and guys that like I would really love us to have, but I knew realistically we weren't gonna get. Knowing that now what we know now that T is getting tagged and arguably that Michael Pittman Jr. is probably gonna get tagged at this point too. I really didn't want to invest money. I'm sorry. I don't really want to invest money in Mike Evans. I just
You were Chuck. Okay.
me.
For the record, I don't think either of Pittman, T. Higgins, or Mike Evans were ever realistic. But that was
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
And
Pipe
so that when it boiled down, that left me to decide in between like Marquise Hollywood Brown or DJ Shark or who's another guy that was out there, Tyler Boyd. And I just felt like at that point in time, like I felt like Hollywood Brown had probably the most upside of those guys or whatever. As far as
you picked the right one. I like him.
As far as what they can do. The next guy I was kind of looking at was maybe DJ Shark, but then knowing that like it hasn't been much success in Carolina and other places of that nature or whatever, I kind of tend to think that Marquise Hollywood Brown is a little bit more talented than he is. So I didn't mind having him on the team for the right price. Hopefully it's the right price or whatever. This is why I said I'm glad Brett Veach doesn't have me on his financial team or whatever, because I'm not the guy.
He said, I'm not the guy.
So yeah, that was my only reason is really for getting him. I just feel like I would kind of like for us to get back to being explosive again and being able to threaten some teams down the field, putting those threats on the field. I love Mecole, but I don't know if a lot of people really respect his route down the field route running like that, whatever. I think they respect the speed, but I think Hollywood Brown is kind of more of a true receiver of what they could get on the market in that role. So that was the reason for bringing him in.
DG, if you don't remember, what was like? Did you do a Spotrac number for Josh Reynolds?
I think I did. I looked at him too. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind them bringing him in either. I think his was like a 1 year for like 6 or something. I don't know.
I would do that. I was like Josh Reynolds.
Only thing that kind of held me back from
how old is he? Is he old?
No, he's about 26.
27, 6 or 7. So like MVS came here at 27, so like 2 years. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
only thing that held me back from the Reynolds thing was just
I thought he was
the drops. In of course in the NFC Championship game.
That was so out of character for him. Usually he's sure-handed. So,
but then remember, wasn't it week 1 here? He had a couple drops. They kind of cost them. Well, I mean, they still won the game, but they kind of cost them some drives or whatever. So I just kind of felt like it was kind of like bringing in somebody who we had last year, or whatever.
Yeah.
I just felt like I wouldn't mind if that's what they wanted to do as a secondary option or whatever. But if the market didn't go the way they wanted to, but,
not a bad option.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, he is a little bit older than I thought at 29, but he's in the KJ Osborne type of. If you can get him for a really cheap contract and bring him in, I think he can make a lot of sense. He's not necessarily somebody I would count on as far as my top 3 wide receivers are concerned, but I understand why you would do it. And Chris asked about Curtis Samuel. I mean, I think that Curtis Samuel had a really good year for the Commanders. I know a lot of people like his fit in the offense. I personally don't, given what we already have in the room. I wouldn't necessarily be looking to spend, $8 million on Curtis Samuel, $10 million on Curtis Samuel. That's me personally, but the people may want to.
Right.
I would prefer to sign someone, Chris, who can go down the field. Not to say he can't, but he's better suited as a guy who's intermediate to short, gadget plays behind the line of scrimmage. Because that's what he did at Ohio State. That's what he did for the Commanders, like D-Mac just said. So he can play. I'm sure we could use him in a very explosive way. I'm not saying we wouldn't be able to make plays with him. But if I'm going to bring a receiver in, I'm of the mindset I want somebody who we can give the ball to down the field. That's why I know people hate it, but I wouldn't be against Gabe Davis. I wouldn't be against Josh Reynolds. I wouldn't hate DJ Chark. I would hate the money because I don't think he would deserve anything because he hasn't been that productive. But somebody who can catch the ball down the field. I think intermediate to short, we have those guys. I want somebody who can catch the ball down the field. That's my biggest concern for this offense. So get back to being explosive, like DG said.
Absolutely. DG is right on the money. You get back to being able to
20-yard plays.
Yeah.
And that's not that. I was going to say that doesn't have to be just a free agent guy. Obviously, we talked about the draft a little bit here.
Yep, that's
DG's perspective. Just in general, you got to find a way to get that back in the offense because it's just too difficult from a running game perspective, and then also what you're kind of constraining your offense to as well. So,
absolutely.
Let's get to the draft, man.
Yeah,
speak to me,
draft
DG.
Time.
DG, you biased? No, I'm playing.
Draft time, we get like I said, man, making that deal with the Cardinals, we get an extra pick. So in hindsight, going into this draft, the board kind of fell the way I thought it would, especially with us being at 32. I would obviously like us to have Tyler Guyton. I think I value him a little bit better over Jordan Morgan, but I feel like Jordan Morgan was a guy who I feel like as a left tackle could step in to our offense immediately, play. Deals great with has great awareness with stunts and blitzes and things of that nature. Very smart, savvy player. Excellent hands, man. I feel like he could really come in and play a good role for us, especially if he's able to get coached up by Andy Heck, and really battle Wanye for that left tackle spot in training camp. I think that'd be a really good sight to see. Something that will really push Wanye to maybe be better, step his game up as well, too. But then if Morgan's not able to go, then it provides you maybe with a guy who can be a swing tackle at that point, too, play both sides or whatever, maybe have a little versatility. At 35, who's my favorite player in the draft.
We know who this is, baby. The X-Men.
This is a little bit of a biased pick. I feel like
a little bit.
In my,
I don't think it's biased at all. Don't let him lie to you. I think
that's a lot.
Most of y'all know I'm a huge Longhorns fan, man.
Cook 'em, baby.
I watched this guy for the last 3 years, man. I think he's a hell of a player, Xavier Worthy. Downfield threat, can get over the top of defenses. I know there were some people last night in our space who said he doesn't have elite speed, but I kind of beg to differ.
Well, they mean that he's not fast? You think he's slow?
I don't know, man.
He's gonna run like maybe a high 4.4.
Right.
The lowest. If he ran like a low 4.5, I expect him to run 4.4 or lower. So I don't know what
I think he's going to be in the 4.42 range. Me personally,
I think
it's going to be a low 4.4, and we talked about this during the space as well, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No,
I
you
think
good.
that
Go ahead.
you see it on game tape where he is separating in that last
Facts.
aspect of those deep threats, or deep balls specifically because he has the ability to track the football, to understand when to flash those late hands, and he just understands at that catch point how to get that little extra separation, and continue down the field where the ball is placed. And Mahomes is going to be able to do that for the wide receiver down the field accurately. He has to take full advantage of it. And look, if it's a 4.29, then I think that him going at 32 is going to be more than fully justified.
Yeah,
I
where they get
personally
this
think
slow part shit from?
yeah, I don't know how they got the so.
Where they get
I
that shit
guess
from?
they expect other people to, and I think that like Troy Franklin probably does end up running a little bit faster than him, and I think that's fine. If he's in that 4.45 to that four, whatever or lower range, to me, I'm cool with it because I know what I've seen on tape
Hell
from
yeah.
that aspect. So
Yeah,
sorry,
And he
keep on
plays
going.
inside outside. I love his everywhere. I
yeah.
don't think it's a reach at all either. Anything from like 32 to 30, 40, that pocket area, any of the receivers that we named, I'm cool with. So
Yeah.
I like X. That's a good pick.
I think
Yeah, I
that
mean, it
his
really. No, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think his route tree isn't real defined, but I think that he can be coached up, um, to learn certain, routes and things of that nature or whatever. And I think he can do that at a successful rate, especially what you said, D-Mac, and being able to separate and things of that nature. There were times
Any,
at Texas where
that's a
they
fact.
ran that little whip route or pivot route or whatever in the red zone for him a lot, and he does that with ease, man. He can beat guys off the line really good. So I think it just adds another piece of explosiveness into the offense that defenses will have to respect. And I think it just makes Pat's life a little bit easier.
And he can play outside. That's what we need because
Yeah.
she got the slot locked up. We need somebody that can play that X and play that Z. If you can play outside the numbers, they're gonna love you. And he did that a lot for Texas, so I'm with it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I won't say that he is a true X in a traditional sense because he is a little bit lighter
yes, sir.
as far as his weight is concerned. He's around 172. As
Yeah.
far as his listed weight, I think that he'll probably end up coming around 180 as far
180
as
something. Yeah.
the combine will be concerned. But look, there are a few different things actually as far as that the analytics are concerned that actually I think I can share because I did pull it up earlier. When it comes to wide receivers, the weight thing is not the biggest issue that people think about. I've seen him when he's been used as an actual real wide receiver. He's been able to survive contact. That's why he doesn't have a lot of a high drop rate. That's why he doesn't have a lot of issues as far as contested catches are concerned. He understands how to track the ball down the field. I feel comfortable for what he can kind of present from a specific. If he has to play outside, I think he's perfectly fine out there, and I think that when you spoke about DG, you guys used him on those whip routes a little bit more in the short to intermediate areas. When he was allowed to do specific wide receiver things within that offense, he actually excelled in a lot of aspects as far as that's concerned. This is what I was kind of talking about as far as the wide receiver information and production correlation is concerned, as far as the combine. That there are
He's really gonna
some
play this
things
one.
that correlate a little bit more with production as far as wide receivers are taken, the shuttle, which that short area quickness, your ability to be explosive in your lower half as far as the vertical is concerned. Obviously, the bench, which helps you with being able to get off the press, and the age is also a very big part of this. And Xavier Worthy is not an older guy by any means, shape, or form. And we'll get a little bit more into that kind of discussion as far as the combine is concerned and prospect type evaluation and things that are going to be important for what is actually going to correlate and translate from the college game to the NFL game. But we'll get into that a little bit more down the line specifically. Go ahead and keep on going with your draft, DG.
Yeah. One last thing about Worthy. He's also a guy that if you need him to, he could come in and do punt returns as well too. Very explosive in the special teams. So I feel like that's another element that can be added to this team as well too, and does it at a very good rate. Chris Jenkins with 64. I was actually surprised that he fell this low.
That is crazy for sure.
And when he was there, I look.
At 64, wow.
there's some defensive tackles I know that in this draft that a lot of people like. Leonard Taylor, I think another Byron Murphy, of course, another guy from Texas as well too.
Robinson.
Um,
Byron
but
Murphy, that would be a top 15 pick for good reason. But yeah, there are some really good D2. I mean, some really good day two defense alignment options, and certainly Chris Jenkins is one of them.
yeah, Jenkins, I feel like is a guy who can be versatile and do both, play the run, but also provides you a lot in the pass rush aspect as well too. I think that for me, I think putting somebody next to Chris that can kind of command some attention on that other side would really help Chris be able to maybe take those sack numbers back up to where they were before or whatever from the previous years. Um, I would have liked to had Tavondre Sweat, but I didn't want to draft all Texas players.
You should have had one pick with him and one pick without him.
Yeah.
Really good ones, dog. Not
Chris
mad at you
Jenkins,
if you want.
I feel like was just a guy who could do some of the same things as a Tavondre Sweat, um, and really step in and be able to help this defense continue their success from last year. Obviously, a champion in Michigan, so he knows what championship football looks like. And obviously, I feel like will come in and be a huge impact. Ben Snanot, I honestly one of my favorite picks that I
That's a
was
good
able
one
to
this
get.
year. I like Ben. I like Ben.
Getting him the way this board fell, and when I was doing this mock, it honestly, in my opinion, it fell perfectly of how I wanted kind of things to go. But Sanaa, I feel like provides that tight end too. We've been kind of looking for it, especially from the receiving standpoint. Feel like he high points the ball really well. He can run routes. Also, very good blocker out in open space. Just think he does things the right way, and I think he would provide a good second option behind Travis. Maybe be able to be a guy that may be able to take over or provide a good serviceable option for when Travis is done playing as well too. Smart player. And then him obviously being at K State wouldn't have to go far to play for the Chiefs as well too. Jalen Ford. This was I kind of when I got to this point in the draft, I was kind of looking at where to go, and there were guys that I feel like or positions that I felt like I, I just didn't want to take a chance on. Jalen Ford to me is a guy I think that he could step in, play sideline to sideline football, kind of take over. I guess you could say a little bit of Willie's role, um, and being able to play outside, play in pass coverage as well too. I think Chanel would obviously be the guy that kind of carries the torch on from Willie's standpoint or whatever. But rotating him in, I just think he's a little bit more talented than a Jack Cochran or Cam Jones or somebody they already have on their roster at this point. So that's the only reason why I took him. And Blake Watson, I think CJ could give
Boom,
you a little
baby.
bit more insight on this. I know this is one of his favorite
My dog
guys
right
as
here.
far as running back in the draft. So I'll let CJ tell y'all about Blake Watson.
Blake, very versatile back. The things we love about Jerry McKinnon, a guy that can pass protect. I've seen Blake Watson play full games of playing in the slot at receiver. I've seen him playing games will have to be obviously playing fullback, a running back full time as well. So I love Blake Watson's versatility. I've seen games where he'll get 15 plus touches. I've seen games where he barely touches the ball at all, but he's good in pass pro for me. He catches the ball flawlessly. Natural when he catches the ball, can run inside the tackles, inside. I think he's better outside running. Obviously, he's not that bigger back, but as far as like the versatile backs in this class, I think he's one of the more guys that can be underrated, not as much get as much love. Even though this class is really good, I would have loved to see where Cody Schrader was in this mock. I know Bucky Irvin would have probably been gone by now. Jawar Jordan from Louisville, I like him as well. But outside of like the obvious backs, Blake Watson been one of my favorite backs since I first watched him. I think like one of the first games this year I watched him at Memphis. And if you want to watch him in this tape, he has a lot of games because they were obviously had a lot of games on TV this year. But I love Blake Watson's versatility. Good back. Obviously, he's not the biggest guy, obviously, but I think it's a great change of pace for when Pacheco leaves the field. We have another back that can come in, can play on third down, can catch the ball. Obviously, he can do anything we ask him to do when he's not touching the ball as well. Can he go in and pass protect and be reliable? But I love his versatility, man. I think this is a great pickup for us, too. Especially he's younger, be cheaper. We can literally move in from Pacheco's rookie deal to Blake Watson. And if we decide to move on from Jet McKinnon, and we expect Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be moved on as well. So I love this pick. So DG, he's been reading my mind. He's been listening. I'm proud of him.
I will say something about Blake Bronson as well. Let's say I'm a Mizzou fan. We played obviously Memphis in the Dome earlier in the year, and the offensive line kind of got dominated for Memphis. They weren't able to really handle up front, but he really was able to flex his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and create some yards on what was one of the best defenses in the country, and that caught my eye. Having that versatility is certainly interesting. I'll be interested to see, how Blake Watson progresses, certainly at the combine, and that applies really to all these prospects because the athletic testing does matter for us on the outside, not necessarily.
Score, baby.
Yes. Oh, baby, I'm ready to see some green RAS scores. Oh, I can't wait. But those are the things that are always going to be important and definitely have correlation with who are draft targets for the Chiefs because RAS scores is something that have been slowly but surely been progressing throughout Brett Veach's tenure, being very important. And like I said, we'll get into that a little bit more as draft season approaches, or I shouldn't say approaches, but as draft season as the draft approaches. Throughout some more of our future podcasts as well. So, Blake Watson, I'm very interested in him as a day 3 running back. And I do think that when you can add a day 3 running back that you like his explosiveness and versatility, you certainly should, given where our running back room currently is as well. To answer Ross's, I mean, the last Texas player we drafted was last year's Keandre Coburn. And unfortunately,
KC, baby.
A part of Chiefs Kingdom right now. But he could always come back around because we lost him midway through last year and he came back. So we'll see. All right. Finish up with Micah Abram then.
Yeah. Michael Abram. I really don't actually know much about this kid at all. This was just a 7th round pick. I was really adding a guy corner for depth.
Is he tall?
I think he's 6 foot.
Okay.
I want to say 6 foot.
Here's the thing: when you get to the 7th round, it's always a good thing to just go ahead and throw a DB in there.
Upside. Just throw for upside.
For
sure.
As far as the Brett Veach,
I love corner. I love that. Yeah.
I ended up having him. He's about 5'11", 185. I think he would be more of a kind of depth slot option.
Outside guy. Yeah. Cool. I know this draft. I've been looking at. It's a lot of tall corners in this draft, like more than usual. There's a lot of guys over 6 feet. So if we were in this area and there were some DBs on the board, I would love to see who's available that's over like the Sneed, Jalen Watson, Josh Williams type of mold. I think we've been really good at drafting bigger corners for sure.
Yeah. For me, it was just a depth piece. Bringing in a guy I feel like that could, in case anything happens, injury wise or anything like that, maybe they can be able to plug him in special teams wise or something of that nature. Or whatever, or even practice squad them and coach them up and develop them.
This is a good draft, bro. Well done. I like this draft.
I feel like they've been good at getting guys late in the draft and being able to develop those guys. They got a good track record. So.
DG Veach, baby. DG Veach, stop playing.
I certainly like the draft. You hit on the major,
good, good shit, bro.
Major positions, and you got actually really 4 of the guys that I absolutely do love in this draft, especially for where we're going to be picking, because I do think Jordan Morgan is a guy that come in and compete for that left tackle spot, first and foremost, and I think he's a guy that Andy Heck would like to work with as well. We've raved about Xavier Worthy. Certainly, Chris Jenkins has that inside-outside versatility, and day one could be the starting D tackle next to Chris Jones. He wouldn't be a nose tackle guy. You would still kind of have a Bugs or a Neil Farrell kind of trying to be that type of guy, but he could be somebody that gives you some pass rush juice on a consistent basis, which would be really nice to have in your defensive line rotation. And I like Sennett. I like his versatility. He's a guy that can go into play fullback a little bit more, but he's got the athletic ability to be a little bit more of that inline top tight end complement to Travis Kelce. And look, as far as tight end is concerned, I'm just in the mode of, hey, give me the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round athletic guy that, will teach up and take the dart throw as far as I'm concerned, because that's really what you can do at tight end, that has given you the most fruit. Somebody also asked earlier, and I think Manny put some in as far as Terry McLaurin. is concerned. I don't think it should be centering around the L'Jarius Sneed trade. Hopefully not. If it was a L'Jarius Sneed trade, it would be like I'm trading him for Terry McLaurin and a third round pick, but they probably wouldn't do that. If I'm trading for Terry McLaurin, because he's another year older from that perspective, it's kind of all right, we're getting rid of it. It'd really be a fourth. That would kind of be where I'd land at, but again, probably not going to happen. So that's how I feel about it. Even though I do like Terry McLaurin, there's something to be said for when you're trading for these guys and what money you're paying them as they get into that advanced stage. So yeah. Anything else, DG, that you want to give as far as your scenario is
DG
concerned?
Beach, baby.
Nah, man, I'd like I said, man, this was a very fun process to kind of try to tap into the mind of Brett Veach, and kind of see the way he thinks and the way he sees numbers or whatever. Like I said, I knew with the free agency it'd be a little issue with the Jeffrey Okuda thing, but I could see them going in other directions as well too. That's why I felt like after free agency going, I had to figure out a way to kill the draft or whatever, because when you look at the market and things of that nature, especially in free agency, it just some things just don't fall in your favor. Some guys out there just want way too much money. So it's all just about keeping an open mind at this point of the season, just because you never know what's going to happen. Anything can happen at this point in time. But I love the way my draft went. Really would be really excited to have Xavier Worthy on the team.
DG getting that jersey, bull, before it's even made.
Yeah, I would definitely have to get a jersey before. So I'm excited, man, to see how this thing goes. I'm excited to watch the combine this weekend and see how our guys from Texas do. I think they're all gonna pretty much test well. In this
I am so glad. I am so glad you said that, because look what I just saw pop up on my timeline.
Boom, bam, boom, baby.
T'Vondre Sweat, and for those who do not know, T'Vondre Sweat, 360-pound defensive tackle, nose tackle, really, out of Texas, and this man is a beast. I mean, he is a beast in the sense that he can come in day one and be your nose tackle and push around some grown men that are offensive linemen, and I truly do believe that man is impressive, and he has enough agility, I'll say, to give you some pass rush juice too. So he's one of those guys as far as day 2 of the draft that I'd look to target if you can get him, and I'd be very happy to bring him in, and that'll add to what you can do as far as the defensive line versatility is concerned. Getting to some more odd front looks that we got a little bit of a taste of, but yeah. I'll be looking forward to see what that man run at that 40, because it's gonna be fun to watch, dog.
I want to look at that 3-cone shuttle and his 10-yard burst. That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
too big.
T'Vondre is a hell of a player, man. He's gonna whoever he gets drafted by, he's gonna be a hell of a run defender for them. That's one part of his game that I think that he's elite at. The pass rush side of it, I think could use some coaching up or whatever, but I'm with you, D-Mac. I think he does have enough juice and agility to kind of do some things in the pass rushing scheme of things. But I think if you're bringing him in, it's obviously more to be in there to be a nose tackle and stop the run, which he's a leader. He's gonna get double teamed so much in the run game that
one-on-ones, baby.
But yeah, you don't want to leave that man one-on-one.
No, not at all. So speaking of the combine, I mean, just really quickly, it doesn't have to be any exhaustive list. Is there one guy or is there one position group that you specifically going to be looking at? Hey, I want to see what these guys run in the Kona shuttles. I want to see the drills. Anything specifically that you guys are going to be looking out for coming up here the next 4 days in Indianapolis, with the players getting out on the field, being able to show some of their stuff?
All the tight ends, baby. Cody Perk, somewhere out of Ole Miss. JT Sanders out of Texas. Ben Snyder out of K-State.
Cody Johnson out of Penn State is
Theo Johnson. Jaheim Bell out of Florida State. All the tight ends. I just want one of these guys, because last year we all knew the tight end class was amazing, and there were so many guys that made plays this year. There were guys that were really good. So I expect us to be aggressive in the tight end department. So I'm looking at all of them. So, I'm a little biased toward that position. So I definitely want us to get one good guy for sure. That's my position I'm going to look at.
I'm really excited to see the receivers because I just think that's going to be probably a position we're going to draft in this draft this year. Really excited to see guys in 40s and how fast some guys run. I think if some guys run a little faster than they're projected, you may see some guys move up some boards.
Or a little slower.
A little slower. You may see some guys move down some more,
Boards,
And, I'm trying to think of another defensive tackle.
You wildin'.
Defensive tackle is another position I'll probably be intrigued in looking at and seeing some of those guys and what they can do. Really, all in all, man, I'm really excited for our Texas guys, man. I want all those guys to be successful in the league and have a shot to get drafted. And so I'm praying and hoping that all of them test well or whatever. I do think 3 of those guys probably are going to test really well in Byron Murphy, Tavondre Sweat, and Xavier Wade. We'll see. I'm excited, man. Love the combine, man.
Good weekend.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's going to be very fascinating because, as we've talked about, there are going to be some of these things that correlate, some of these don't really correlate. I'm certainly going to be keyed in on the defensive lineman because there are a lot of ways in which you could see how guys move that will help you. Other things that you won't see as far as their nastiness, that's not necessarily going to be on display, certainly. But some of the short shuttle drills, especially for wide receivers, is going to be fascinating. So I'm going to be fascinated to see. And yes, we have seen some. I mean, honestly, I'd say it's a little bit more consistent right now, or consensus of Keon Coleman probably going top half of the second round.
Hey, country, I told you somebody gonna fall. It just happened to take one.
I've been seeing Neighbors go before Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, so
there are some people that like him. That is true.
Yeah, there are some teams that have Neighbors over him. Me personally, I don't necessarily see it, and I
Marvin's
do like
still one for me too. So
make no mistake about it. Neighbors is an elite wide receiver prospect, but to me, I think the conversation should be Rome or Neighbors, and I do like Rome from the standpoint of I think there's a little bit more wide receiver positional versatility in which I was able to see from what Rome was able to do in college. So, well, it'll be interesting to see certainly, but look, no team, in my opinion, is not going to be over.
They all go in top 10. Let's calm down, guys.
Yeah, all them guys go in top 10 for sure. So,
no.
There is not a way to get Harrison.
Man, football
and that includes Steezy's scenario in which he pulls the full Larry Tunsil. He's still not going to be able to get to us. I promise you that, unfortunately. We're looking forward to the combine. Obviously, let me make sure I have this date right. So I believe next week is the tag deadline. Let me look it up just to be sure real quick.
Yeah, March 5th, I believe.
Yeah, March 5th, that's Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is
legal tampering starts March 11th.
That is correct.
March 11th.
Is March 5th next week? Is that Tuesday or Wednesday?
Is it a Tuesday or Wednesday? One of them. I thought it was Tuesday.
I think it's Tuesday.
First is Friday, third, fourth. Yeah, so it'll be 5th, and so we'll have an official word as far as Sneed is concerned, and we'll also have an official word on kind of what is going on with Chris Jones and an update after the combine, and they'll have a chance to kind of sit in a room together and see if they can get something done. So it'll be fascinating for next week's episode. Next week's episode will include our third and final installment of Choose Your Own Offseason with Mr. CJ himself, giving his mock offseason, which I'm going to be very, very intrigued to see. So,
some of y'all favorite players about to go, boy. We got to keep these two big dogs. Telling y'all right now, somebody about to go bye-bye.
So before we get out of here, I did want to talk about this because I think it's more of the lighthearted subject. Miko Hartman going on the podcast, man. I thought it was hilarious. He obviously made two, kind of main comments, talking about the culture difference coming from the Chiefs, where he won a lot, coming over to obviously the Jets, where he said there wasn't really a whole lot of structure. it was kind of just like, whatever Aaron wanted to do on offense, then they did with whatever Aaron wanted to do on offense. And when he went down, then things kind of fell apart because they didn't really know what they was talking about or knew what to do as far as the offensive coaching staff was concerned, which, again, from anybody watching, to me, was incredibly obvious. You could tell the fact that they didn't bring in another quarterback for Zach Wilson, who was awful. And also, I saw had the permission to seek a trade today. God bless you if you're trying to trade for Zach Wilson. It was obvious they didn't try and bring in another quarterback. They clearly were like, it's all Aaron, and if it doesn't, then we're all lost. And that's why Nathaniel Hackett had a job, because it was Aaron Rodgers, and that's not a surprise at all, in any way, shape, or form, in my personal opinion. So, anything that you guys, and then also the secondary part was Mecole Hardman talking about calling up Veach and Mahomes and telling them to come get me. He also tweeted out that he didn't. It doesn't matter ultimately unless Brett Veach picked up the phone and told him that he was going to come get him, which I highly doubt that he would be dumb enough to do. There's no leg to stand on from a tampering standpoint in that case. So that's my personal opinion as far as the Mecole thing is concerned. I chuckled at it because it's a lot of heavy truths that the Jets fans don't want to hear. And it's probably a whole lot of heavy truths that the Jets defensive players know but don't want to admit because they have to go back and trust Aaron Rodgers to save their season next year, coming off of that Achilles injury. DG or CJ, anything as far as Mecole's podcast appearance?
I mean,
I thought it was funny.
What all he said played out. Like, you saw it in Hard Knocks. Like when they had Hard Knocks on this, you saw how they were ranting and raving about Aaron Rodgers, which I don't blame them for. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is arguably one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game. But we seen when that guy's there, your team's not very good,
Boom, bam, bam.
And unfortunately, they lost him 4 plays into the new season, and it was just terrible luck, at that point.
Very,
but
very
I really believe this goes to show you like how certain organizations like to run things. And I think when Aaron Rodgers kind of came there, it was Aaron Rodgers or bust, and he kind of flipped and changed everything there. And once he went down, the ship went down, So I don't blame Mecole for what he said at all. They're not a winning organization. They haven't been a consistent winning organization.
He didn't lie.
They haven't been a winning organization inconsistently either.
He didn't say anything we already didn't know.
I don't. So I'm not really sure what the Jets fans or what their players were really upset about. Like, you just hate the truth at this point.
So he was lying. That's what he said.
Okay. Yeah, it's just hardcore truth. It's harsh truth. Sometimes that's not what you want to hear. Or whatever. So I had no issues with it. I will say to Steezy's comment, Channing Crowder is a nasty.
He always did that, bro. He the wild one on the show. Pivot is only wild because of him.
That through the whole.
He always did that wild stuff, bro.
I had to pause for a second.
Pause.
Yeah. But other than that, man, the Pivot podcast is great, man. I feel like
him and Clark,
they
do
such a
good
good
job
job over there. I love Ryan Clark, man.
They're
incredible interviewers.
Shout out Fred Taylor. Shout out them.
Yeah, man. Hopefully they continue to keep going, man. Hopefully one day we have one of them on this show. Trying to chop it up and talk, or whatever. So, yeah, man. I loved the interview. It was great.
Me too, man. I thought it was funny. Anytime it's on the Pivot, it's always a good show. It's always good shows on them. Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor, Channing, they always do good stuff, man. Good work. I expected this interview to come out because I was going to ask, how was it over there? And what did you go through? And he was at the inside, so he has all the dirt. So they're obviously trying to get Mecole to spill the beans. And he kind of told the truth. So I didn't really think he did nothing egregious, like speak anybody out of turn or out of name or disrespect anyone. He just was told it how it was over there. And people aren't going to want to hear the truth, like DG said. So it is what it is. But Mecole being in a situation is the funniest one. It is funny for him to do it because he's one of the more personality ones on our team. So for him to want to tell everybody, it is kind of funny.
Hey, when he said, y'all can't tell me about Whitted, I lost it.
He not lying. Y'all can't tell me how to. He's not lying, though. Like, y'all really can't. So
y'all can't tell me about Whitted.
It's really the truth, though. He had the rings on his finger, and that's not.
I already had 2 of them. Y'all can't tell me nothing.
That's not a coincidence, and that's a reality situation. He was coming from a winning organization that understood what it took to get to the highest mountaintop, that understood from a coaching perspective, and he talked about it. Andy Reid holds Patrick Mahomes accountable the same way the rest of his team. And for other teams that may not work, but if you're not winning, then it's very difficult to have that unbalance because players feel that, and especially when that unbalance is so heavily in one player's perspective, to where if he goes down, then everything else falls apart. You didn't see any panic from the Chiefs when Patrick Mahomes sprained his ankle, and it was Chad Henne for a drive in the playoffs. There's no panic from that perspective. They know what they do. They're going to keep on moving forward, no matter who it is. And yeah, that's just what it is about. And that's what a winning organization looks like. And that's why your Chiefs are the NFL dynasty of this era, to say the least. So, once again, it's all about making sure that you can get to that three-peat. And this offseason, we'll continue to be taking those big steps to do so. And we'll be continue to cover that somebody did ask, is there going to be emergency vetted Sneed gets traded? We will be doing obviously a space if on Twitter if Sneed does
Follow
get
all
traded.
of us.
Yeah.
Yes, follow
Yeah,
all of us.
something
Make sure
happens,
underscore keep it prolific for DG, CGZ for CJ as well, and my ads right there, DMAC Quake 316. We certainly will be having a space on Twitter in emergency. And look, podcast will be coming in every single week. Wednesday nights. We got 1 week off in the off season right now between us and the draft, but that's the only week we taking off, dog. We gonna keep on rolling forward with it to make sure we're covering you guys for the off season concern. Make sure you guys do tap in next Tuesday night, March 9th or March 9th. That'd be next Thursday. No, because
Yeah.
5th is Tuesday.
next Monday. That's 2 Mondays from now.
2 Mondays.
It's
No,
actually Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah,
Saturday.
next Saturday. There we go. I'm like,
Saturday.
all over the place.
Say
March is coming up, dog. I don't even know.
March 9th,
Next
Saturday.
Next Saturday, make sure you guys tap in. The guys from Arrowhead AM and PM on Twitter, if you do not know, but that includes KC Ross. We'll be having a film room on Kingdom Cast. Make sure you guys are ready for that as well. I'll be tapping in because I'll be interested to watch that for sure. Manny, how do I find y'all on Twitter? Manny, you talk to us on Twitter every single day. What are you talking about?
Manny, you follow all of us.
You talk to us every single day. What do you
Manny,
mean?
you follow all of us, man.
But yes, make sure you guys tap in every single Wednesday nights. We'll be right back here covering the off season. We'll certainly have to talk about the tag deadline and the entirety of the combine to review for sure, and any other news that pops up in between now and then. Tomorrow night, Kingdom Cast, we'll see if it ends up coming. But every single Thursday night, Kingdom Cast will be coming at you, man. So for DG, for CJ, we appreciate y'all. Tell the truth. We out.